tried to make you mine. Until I die, it will burn me up inside. I'm trying to move on, but nothing seems to make a difference. I'm left alone with an empty heart that beats uneven. I'm left alone with an empty bed at night. I'm left alone with the empty dream that I was someone special to you.
All right, that was the active set with "Shut 'Em Down." Now, this song was definitely think is a definitely good lead off for the EP, and this one, out of some of the other songs I've heard, not necessarily off the EP, but some of your other songs, just seemed a little bit more dark in some ways, not just more kind of like a mix of the music and the lyrics, and even that like cool little fade out at the end. I mean, it kind of reminds me of a cello going in like an old horror flick.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I mean that song. Oh, that song. That song is depressing and definitely comes from a real place and real experiences, I should say. And I remember when I was writing the final lyrics, I actually wrote the end lyrics, I think, before I wrote a bunch of the middle, because the last part that rocks out and gets very emotional was when I wrote that. I was like, okay, I just wrote the saddest thing I've ever written, and I was really excited about it because for me, it's one of those things where if you yourself as the writer are that excited about it, then hopefully it connects with somebody else, or somebody else hears it and gets, even a sliver of the emotionality that you get out of it. Because when I finished writing it, I was like, all right, that's it. That says exactly what I'm trying to say. So dust my hands off. All right. Next one. And then musically, Jason LaRocca is the guy who produced the record, and he's an old friend of mine, and we used to be in bands together and stuff. And he was such a pleasure to work with, and I think he's a big part of that song really coming together and him really giving that song a sound and how he mixed it. And I thought that it wasn't necessarily the catchiest pop single, if you will, but at one rehearsal, the rest of the band was like, "Why don't we make that the first single?" And I was kind of like, "Really?" I would love to, just because it is such a personal song, but at the same time, it was like, "Oh, okay, we're gonna go with a really sad, dark one. Let's give it a try," and it worked out great because people. I think people really responded to it, and the K-Rock in Los Angeles, which is the big alternative rock station, which
right.
You may have heard of. K-Rock played it on their Locals Only program for 10 weeks, and it really did kind of make its mark, which was kind of nice and validating that it was a good choice.
Well, and the thing is too is like it's. I mean, even for a pop tune, they can't all be kind of happy-go-lucky all the time. No, there's got to be some we'll call it a darker side to it, and it just all in the presentation. So people want to hear the sad stuff too, right? I mean, they not necessarily because they want to bum themselves out, but just because they like to hear about it because it gives the listener a deep appreciation and kind of trying to almost kind of trying to not necessarily feel what you feel, but kind of see what you're going through at the time, and they can a lot of them kind of make a connection to it.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a lot. No, it's a good thing because they're not released. People don't release kind of sad tunes like that too often right off for a first single. But in this case, like you said, it worked extremely well, and people do want to hear the different stuff, because like I said, not everything's happy-go-lucky all the time. There's going to be some dark songs out there, but just because they're dark doesn't mean they're not good.
Yeah, like I think of Radiohead's "Creep."
There you go.
It's such a turbulent, emotional, troubled song, and it's so funny that became such a big hit. Because I mean, I understand it's an amazing sounding song, but just when you dig deep into that song, it's like, wow, this is not a pleasant emotion, or this guy is not having a good time in life, and yet you have a big group sing along, a room full of people all singing along with that song, and it's like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
So I guess that emotion and that song, anybody who's had those kind of feelings really, oh yeah, I felt like that.
Exactly. I mean, just a lot of songs are somewhat relatable, right? Two small things, sidetrack a bit about Thom Yorke. Speaking of Creep, when they played the MTV, it was like a beach house special or something like that. Thom Yorke almost killed himself, not intentionally, in the pool, because he fell into the pool and he went to grab for the mic, and like a roadie wire came by the last minute and pulled it out of his reach. So he would have electrocuted himself.
Oh, yeah, I think I've seen those videos online. I think it's Anyone Can Play Guitar is the song where he jumped in the pool, right?
Yeah.
If I remember correctly.
He jumped the pool, and like I said, it wasn't intentional, but it was just too whatever at the time, and
yeah.
Luckily, there's someone around to stop him from doing something extremely stupid, right? So.
Yeah.
Right. So done with that is because when you mentioned that, it was one of the first things I thought of was that scenario right there. Okay. But anyways, back to your music, Matt. Sorry, a little sidetrack there. So the other single I've played on the show is actually one of my favorites. And just before we get into it, the one thing I noticed too, besides Shut 'Em Down being very personal, which is fine. The rest of the album kind of seems, at least title-wise, seems kind of angry. Just because, just solely based on the titles. I mean, they're great tunes, but Shut 'Em Down, Watch Your Back, I Can't Trust You.
Yeah.
So, I'm not sure it was intentional, but I mean, and like I said, it's not a bad thing. It's just one of the things I noticed when I was listening to the tracks and listening to the songs. Like, it was okay.
And it is funny because the first EP we ever did, there's a song called Better Brigade, which is a giant, uplifting, boisterous, optimistic anthem. And then on 11 you've got Let the Games Begin, which that too is almost like a sequel to Better Brigade, where it's like this kind of like hopeful, we can communicate, rise above the crap kind of song. And on this EP there's no optimistic songs on this. And that's kind of one of those funny artistic things where once we were assembling the songs for the album that turned into an EP, I did take note of that a lot of the songs were frustrated, sad, from a kind of point of view of I don't know, being somewhat angry or frustrated or let down or mistrustful. And yeah, it was interesting. It's like, whoa, what's been going on? And it's not like the entire time that's all I was experiencing, but it did make me think about, oh wow, yeah, I guess there's been some things along the way that have been a little troubling. And yeah, so not as a total bummer. The song, the EP at least closes with a love song of sorts. But yeah, I don't know. I guess that's where we're at right now.
No, it's cool, but there in light, it shows the change and the evolving that the band's gone through. I mean, it's not just the music, it's the lyrics and songs, that sort of thing. So that's kind of what I was talking about during the first part of the interview, is just the change, in the past few years. So it's good, and everything is gonna change at some point, and just like pretty much comes down to like hopefully people accept the change depending on what it is, but. It varies. I mean, you can never be 100% positive, but at the same time too is that's kind of the fun part of it. You're taking an extra risk now and going for it, and like not a complete different direction, but like a few alterations here and there.
Yeah, for sure. And I can definitely say, in the current musical landscape, what I've been talking to a lot of people about, and industry people, has been the fact that we live in such a strange time for independent bands. I have several friends who are in bands that have been signed to major labels and blah, blah, blah. And it's not like everyone is rich and famous, but they're getting headway and they're making traction and they're achieving certain milestones.
Right.
And it still is because, their bands are good. And their music is good or great. Like, that's not a question. But I know a lot of bands whose music is good or great who aren't signed and aren't succeeding. And as much as it's a do-it-yourself culture where you're supposed to be able to, release your own music and record your own music and put it out and blah, 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 you still have gatekeepers and you still have labels and you still have people who have these connections and weight and money to invest in a band. And, okay, good.
Yeah.
You get to go on the late night shows and do a performance, or, you get the leverage. You have the leverage to get onto a bigger tour with a bigger artist.
Or a track on a TV show.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, an independent band going to perhaps Letterman or Jimmy Kimmel or one of those shows and saying, hey, can we play? It's like, no. But, a band who has a label and somebody working for them. So that's the tricky part. And in terms of that topic of frustration and being a little angry, I'd say we're a little angry right now just because the opportunities are limited. It's an interesting time right now because there have been times when we've managed to get our foot in the door in certain areas and have some successes, and right now it's like, even in Los Angeles, trying to book a decent show that's not in a closet or a bad dive bar or something like that, it's difficult because there are just so many artists performing, and there's only so much space for people to play. So anyway, that's what we're dealing with.
Oh, fair enough. Well, man, keep going. I know it's a little rough right now, but I think things do get better.
Yeah, you can't kill us.
Yeah.
No, but the good side is, I love this. I love making music. I love interacting with people. I mean, social media. There's a gazillion. I mean, there's Active Set fans in all sorts of different places in the country who constantly chime in and say, guys, when are you coming to Chicago? When are you coming to Tennessee? When are you coming to, and, the answer is, I don't know. But in the meantime, it's like we get to keep putting out music and, there's an audience for it. And I wouldn't trade that for the world. So.
Well, that's the main thing. So next up, we're going to get into the track that was kind of leading up to, and this kind of fits in, and the song is Watch Your Back. Dig this, the Active Set.